What's going on, everyone? My name is Kyle Yates, and thank you so much for checking out the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. As always, you can find our brand new content every week at youtube.com/fantasypros, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow while you're there. Let's get right to it, because today I'm taking a look at my top 10 waiver wire options heading into Week 13. Number 10, Cam Akers, running back, Los Angeles Rams. Akers was able to show off his explosiveness and athleticism on a big play in Week 12, which could lead to some more opportunity down the road. However, this remains a complete mess of a backfield. Akers is fine to add, but until we see Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown completely fade into the background, which is unlikely to happen, you're not going to feel completely comfortable putting Akers in your starting lineup, especially in the fantasy playoffs. Number 9, Philip Rivers, quarterback, Indianapolis Colts. Rivers has now put 3 straight games together of solid fantasy performances, and now he gets a matchup in Week 13 against the Houston Texans defense. Rivers is unlikely to finish within the top 10 next week, but he's certainly a fine streaming option. Number 8, Ryan Fitzpatrick, quarterback, Miami Dolphins. With Tua Tagovailoa reportedly set to miss some time with an injury he suffered during practice last week, Fitzpatrick is absolutely worth looking at in Week 13 if you're in need of a streaming option. The Dolphins get to take on the Bengals defense, and there's a very good chance that we see Fitzpatrick finish within the top 10 at the position. Number 7, Logan Thomas, tight end, Washington football team. It's not exactly the best waiver wire week when we're talking about Logan Thomas as a top 7 option. However, he's starting to become more and more involved in this offense, and the coaching staff is simply just getting the ball in his hands however they can. He has a tough matchup this upcoming week, but he's certainly worth looking at if you're in need of a tight end option. Number 6, Trey Burton, tight end, Indianapolis Colts. It's a complete guessing game as to which Colts tight end is going to have the best fantasy outing any given week. However, the production has been going Burton's way here recently, and he has a great schedule coming down the stretch. Burton's still in the streaming tight end conversation, but he's seeing consistent targets in this offense, and he's finding the end zone. He's worth picking up and playing this week against Houston if you're in need of a tight end. Number 5, Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles. At the time of recording on Monday afternoon, we don't know yet what Reagor is going to do on Monday Night Football. This is a fantastic matchup for opposing wide receivers though, and Reagor could easily put together a very solid performance. The ball has to go somewhere here in Philadelphia, and Reagor should continue to deliver a safe floor each week. He could certainly end up much higher than this in my waiver wire list by the time the Monday night game is over. Number 4, T.Y. Hilton, wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts. Listen, I have been one of the biggest anti-T.Y. Hilton people out there this entire season, so having him here at number 4 overall should tell you all you need to know about this week's waiver wire options. Hilton was able to find the end zone last week for the first time all season, but he still only saw 5 targets. Hilton's worth adding if you're in need of a fill-in wide receiver option, but you shouldn't be breaking the bank to add the veteran receiver to your fantasy rosters. Number 3, Frank Gore, running back, New York Jets. Gore saw 21 touches in Week 13. While there are essentially 0 scoring opportunities in this offense, it's hard to find that type of volume anywhere in the NFL right now. Gore's not the sexy pickup, but for fantasy managers that are looking for solid depth as they head into the fantasy playoffs, Gore's a smart pickup. Number 2, Alexander Madison, running back, Minnesota Vikings. As I mentioned before, there aren't many attractive waiver wire options this week, unfortunately. With that in mind, plus the fact that we're 1 week away from the majority of fantasy playoffs starting, I believe that it's extremely important to add Alexander Madison everywhere. If something were to happen to Dalvin Cook, which we nearly saw happen on Sunday, Madison would become a valuable fantasy asset. If you're holding on to a lower tier wide receiver that is unlikely to be put in your starting lineup throughout the fantasy playoffs, it's worth dropping them to make sure you have Madison on your roster for the upside. Number 1, Devonta Booker, running back, Las Vegas Raiders. At the time of recording, we don't have any clarity on Josh Jacobs' injury. We know it's a sprain and that it might be worse than what it looked like, but that's about it. If Jacobs is healthy and practicing this week, then Booker's not someone that you should be spending significant fab money to acquire. However, if Jacobs' injury turns out to be significant, we could have a top 24 running back on our hands heading into the fantasy playoffs. He's worth putting at the top of your list until we get more clarity. Looking for useful content, fantasy-relevant information, and the data that can help your team win? Then make sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. And while you're at it, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at FantasyPros so we can help you dominate your league all season long.